We're waiting. It's Coronation Street right now, but we're waiting. It's set up. I'm chomping at the bit
Jay,
here.
I don't want you to feel the pain that I felt last night. How excited are you for Game 7 for your favorite hockey team?
Oh my gosh, I can't even, words can't describe. I actually teared up imagining what it would be if we got to the big show, because because the gold came home this year and if Stanley comes home as well, I literally started weeping.
Do you have? I kind of get weird before games. I mean, when we had a season, do you have pregame things that you do? Do you have superstitions or anything?
Oh boy, I just nobody better say shutout in my house. That is the only thing. There's just certain things you don't say when you're watching hockey with me.
Are you a yeller?
Oh my God, I'm the worst. I'm embarrassing. Yeah, the white trash in me comes out when the Habs are on, big time.
Bravo!
I love it. All right. Well, we want to talk about the Trotsky.
Cool.
Obviously, this is a great film. We had a chance to see it. How do you describe it?
Well, it's basically a reimagining of the high school teen comedy. About a kid. Montreal teenager named Leon, whose dad owns a schmata factory, and he goes about trying to unionize that, and it doesn't go over so well. So, as a means of punishing me, my dad pulls me out of boarding school and puts me in a public school.
That'll teach you a lesson.
That'll teach you a lesson. In certain neighborhoods it will, anyway.
Absolutely.
And I go about trying to unionize the board student body there, and ideally hilarity ensued. I took the liberty of reading up on the school board regulations vis-a-vis detention. And mud isn't in there. Neither are nose rings, for that matter. And between you and me, it is the first day of school. You probably could have let your shirt thing slide. How are you? Are you well?
Young man, I don't know who you think you are.
Leon Bronstein. I am the reincarnation of Leon Trotsky.
Your character really, truly believes that he is the embodiment, the second coming of Leon Trotsky.
He knows it. He knows. He knows he's the reincarnation.
He believes.
Because kids that age never really have certainty.
If there's one thing he's certain of, it's what he's meant to do, and that he's meant to eventually get it with an ice pick through the eye later on.
And what a fun character, too. I mean, he truly was the nerd hero. He had no doubt in his mind about anything that he was doing, any step that he took. How fun was it for you to play that part?
It's one of the most beautiful characters I've ever gotten to play, honestly. He is the audience's way into the story, but he's also a non-traditional hero in the sort of Joseph Campbell sense, in that he has no arc. He's the same guy at the end of the movie. He just goes about affecting change everywhere he goes, you know? And me, just given the fact that I'm a huge physical comedy nerd, I weaved slapstick into wherever I could. It was like the first fitting where I had the whole outfit on and the glasses and my hair was teased up and I caught myself in the mirror, and that was when I was 100% certain who he was. And that's where I got the weird posture and the strange walking and all that stuff.
Well, it's amazing because the intellectual entry point into this film, I mean, Trotskyism, you know, all these things that you sort of vaguely remember from high school.
The movie's a love letter to two things, to the West End of Montreal, and a Montreal that's never been seen before, but also to the point that an era in everyone's life, the sort of the first time you start to think about things that aren't just music videos or clothes or homework or whatever, any of those things.
A lot of people have tried to replicate kind of the John Hughes vibes of those high school films, where it really did bring you back in time to high school, but it seems like this film managed to actually do that without a lot of pomp and circumstance.
No, that's one of the things Jacob did the best, I think, is he wrote teens that are smart and interesting and funny and real.
You and Jacob have known each other for a long time. At least, you know, your lives have revolved around each other for a long time. Easier or harder to work with someone that you kind of know?
Oh, way easier. Way easier. There's just that much less that needs to be communicated. You know, we just sort of have a shorthand, and now we've made 2 movies together, and there's even less that needs to be described between the two of us, you know, and I count him as one of my best friends, and more to a point, without taking anything away from the wonderful people that I've had the pleasure to work for, he's without a doubt the best director I've ever worked for.
That's a big compliment, because you've got quite the resume.
There's a pretty good pedigree on that.
Not too bad. Well, let's talk about the other film that you're doing with Jacob. It'll be out in the fall, probably at TIFF.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, what is it called?
It's called Notre Dame de Grace, which is the name of the hood that Jacob and I grew up in. It's based on a novel called Cher Voisin, and it's basically about it's a serial killer movie set in a brownstone in NDG during the '95 Quebec referendum.
A little bit of a turn from the Trotsky.
I don't know why it took this long for someone like Jacob to come around, man. Like I count the Trotsky as sort of part of a paradigm shift in Canadian culture. I've noted, I put Trotsky in there with Trailer Park Boys and Fubar, and It's All Gone Pete Tong, and The Foundation is...
Yeah. You just named some of my favorite movies.
Oh, yeah, no, and I'm making a movie with Michael Dowse this summer, which is pretty wicked, and it's like, you know, for a long time, people here were content that the only movies we made in English were some sort of weird thing about people's sexual hang-ups in the prairies or something, you know, and not that that's anything wrong with that, but there are different types of Canadians who like different types of movies, so we should make movies for everyone. And finally we're making, I think finally people are cluing into that, you know, and you're right, Jacob's voice, he's showing the world that we grew up in, the Montreal that we grew up in, that we've never seen in movies, because if you watched Anglo movies from the rest of Canada, you'd never know we existed. If you watch French movies from Quebec, you'd never know we existed.
Two films in Montreal back to back. How was that for you?
Unbelievable. If it was up to me, every job would be in Montreal.
And you've never had the inkling to move to Hollywood or anything like that? You're just a Canadian kid?
Oh, I can't stand it. No,
They don't watch hockey there.
What's that? No.
They do. Different.
Yeah, they watch it.
Playoff hockey.
They basically, they only ever cheer when the puck is within 2 centimeters of the net.
Yes.
They don't cheer when anybody kills a penalty. They don't cheer when anything interesting, remotely cool happens. No, I have a life down there, and truth be told, I have more friends in Los Angeles than I do in Montreal, but it's just not my home. And every time throughout my career that any sort of semblance of an ultimatum was put to me, like, work in the States or live in Canada, I was always like, oh, live in Canada. But I kept getting
Not a lot
the
of
gigs.
people would say that.
Well,
okay, we have to talk about another movie that's going to be coming out in July. Budget about, what, 160 million?
Well, it's a little art house.
Little art film?
Little talky
Disney
character movie.
Yeah, Sorcerer's Apprentice. Tell us about that. You're in it with Nick Cage.
Yeah, that movie's insane. That is your quintessential July massive event
Summer
blockbuster movie.
How was it filming that movie? I mean, obviously films like the Trotsky are completely opposite, but what was it like, the process of doing a big budget Disney film?
Well, it was probably the hardest job I've ever had. It was a lovely experience. I got to live in Manhattan for 6 months, and I got to work with Cage, one of my heroes, and I got to do stuff that I've wanted to do my whole life, which is shoot energy out of my hands on camera and all that cool stuff. You know?
Nerd dream.
Oh my God, man! I'm never the guy they hire. I watch those movies, but they always get Milo Ventimiglia or something to shoot energy out of his hands. So like for the chance for me to get to do that and be in like a Ferrari car chase and all sorts of cool stuff. Oh my God! But it was a 6-month shoot, 2.5 of which were nights. You know, we worked 70-hour weeks, and like everything takes a lot longer because there's a lot of computer-generated effects and explosions.
Well, you know what I'd love to see is you being at the forefront of Canadian actors who are having that success in Hollywood, coming home and representing Canada.
Thank you for saying so, and I felt like an obligation the whole time because growing up, one of the things that I kind of thought was really crummy was what I was used to as a Canadian kid was see them go, and the only time they ever came home is when they couldn't get gigs elsewhere. And so for a long time, Canadians were told that their stars or their actors or whoever only want to perform for them when they can't get hired elsewhere, and that is a terrible truth that Canadian kids should grow up with. And I think that we have the best country in the world, and we should be proud of what we do. And I made a decision to give my life to Canadian film a long time ago.
Well, thank you.
Excellent, man. Well, the Trotsky is a beautiful way to continue that.
It's a great film.
Thank you very much.
Do not miss it. It is in the theaters right now. Check what time till the puck drops? 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
Yeah.
All right, come on, Rovers. Come on, Rovers, return in. Close. Pour your last pints. Let's get going.
To find the beer and we're good to go. Jay, thank you, man.
Thank you so much. Lovely to meet you guys. Thank you for having me.
To the youth of the world, we will never be silenced. We will always be heard.
You cheerleading? For what? For your brother becoming psychotic?